Hi guys, Frankie V from Frozen Sand here with another episode of Working with Power Tools, which is my video blog of letting our members of our community to have a little bit more of a, say, insight or, let's say, peeking through the hole in the fence as to the goings-on in construction of Urban Terror HD. It's also in support of the ongoing efforts as far as the current game goes, and if you're interested in first-person shooters and what have you, there's already a version of the game as planned as far as conversion goes, and you can head over to our site urbanterror.info and check it out. It's been around now, closing in on 15 years, which according to all the stuff that I read on the internet, puts us in the classic category. So hopefully, we might have some form of a small celebration or what have you. But it is, let's say, a watershed moment as far as a game surviving through the mod wars, so to speak. So, anyways, things are a bit quiet right now. We're in the say adaptation mode between the current version of the engine versus some of the features that are planned for version 4.8 of Unreal Engine, and of course sometimes it just kind of pays to sit back and wait and see if Epic's going to be so kind and do 90% of the work of it for us without us having to do like a code work as far as integrating key features that our community members have made it very much aware of the kind of features they would like to see as part of the retrofitting / conversion from the IdTech 3 engine, 15 years old, using 15-year-old tools, over to the Unreal 4 platform with basically, we want this feature. You come up with with a cup of coffee and a donut, and you push a button, and the feature has been integrated for you, almost by some sort of ESP kind of thing. So it's definitely a much easier environment to work on as far as including the kind of features enhancements that I'm pretty sure we all want. But being a Saturday. And kind of a kickback day for most of the developers on the team. They're off doing their own things, families and walking and going shopping, and it's usually a pretty slow day. Sunday's always a pretty good day to kind of get on there and do some chit-chatting and what have you. As well as a fair number of developers are in there. I guess you call it their winding down phase for universities and schools and taking tests and so forth. So in this episode, I think I'll just do a pickup some a little something from the mailbag, just to kind of keep things moving, keep updates coming as far as a video blog goes. So a gentleman asked a few weeks ago, Rapid, some interesting and pertinent I guess you can call them semi-questions, but somewhat on the side of suggestions. Now, it's not actually uncommon for us to get these kind of messages and what have you as to concerns. It's not rampant, but it is consistent enough that it's worthy of trying to attempt to add some form of clarification. Unfortunately, it only becomes clear to like a handful of people. It's not something that you really get up onto a soapbox and can broadcast to the entire world, and everybody gets it, kind of thing. Be it known, though, the gentleman is from Germany. Unfortunately, and his the grammar, even on his third attempt, is kind of tricky to the tongue to get. Hopefully I can put it in context, but I'll put it out SIC and see if we can cover some of the concerns that are pretty rather normal. I apologize once again if I wasn't able to get to this earlier. Unfortunately, I'm a YouTube noob. So apparently all three versions of his private PM landed up into the likely spam box. Now, why it happened, I don't know. Anyways, Rapid, coming from Germany. We love Germany. We love France. We love Europe, as they they definitely have the hardcore community, and we're certainly we're impressed with the efforts during the Nations Cup this year. Some of us actually had the opportunity to actually watch it, and of course, I think 7 and 9 was quite happy with the amount of turnout for viewership. So that kind of fits into the whole thing, an idea as to let's say concerns. Okay, so starts out, dear Frankie V, I just want to thank you for the effort you put into Urban Terror HD. There's a word here I'm going to trip over, so I'm going to jump over it. State if this game is about to be released in the next year, even if that's obviously pretty unrealistic. Yeah, certainly. Well, okay, get that. Let me read it out first. That's such a small, sometimes maybe a bit inactive development team. I hope you don't get this on an offensive way. This would be the way, I guess. I meant, and I can totally understand, by working for free it makes this project even harder to realize. Okay, the big thing, rule number one, as a member of the development team is, of course, is since you don't get paid for doing it, is life first, game second. So, it's, I would say, on the whole, the members on the development team put in a lot more effort than you would expect from somebody working for free. So sometimes they get into a binge streak. They might not be active for a few months, 2, 3, 4 months, but if they're a student, they're going through their exams and what have you, and then during we get into the winter months, everything just kind of picks up. A good indication of this is we had a string of releases during the 4.2 after release, and the reason for that mostly was because a lot more developers were available to start streaming stuff out that was in some shape or form as to completion, using what was called a release window, that you knew that you didn't have to rush your work because the next release that could be planned was for the following Friday. So you can stage and stagger or whatever you want, and it will be added to the release. This was different previous to that, in that a good case in point was the a fair number of 4.1 maps were fixed, but were sort of sitting in storage for like 2 years. So they finally decided, okay, we're going to just release this as an update package. You had like 4.1.1 kind of thing. I can't remember. Anyways, offensive-wise, no. As I say, we get these kinds of emails and what have you on a fairly regular basis, and they're, well, I guess give it a name, it's fan mail. This is the kind of stuff that we do appreciate when somebody actually makes the effort of putting their thoughts in a much more constructive manner, particularly as far as their concerns goes. Usually the ones that are offensive look like elite speak, capitalization. You gotta look at it sideways, and is written like it was clipped out of a magazine, as far as being a ransom note. So, and then I use rather colorful metaphors, which obviously they spell incorrectly. So yeah, certainly we like this kind of stuff because it's fan mail. But there are things that I want you to think about, which are, okay, I'm not going to cover one because it's a repeat of what's been asked in number 3, and jump right into 2, thinking about insertion skins. I know, I guess this system from games like Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Shame, we don't use the CGO word around here. Just kidding, of course. Or Leagues of Legends. First off, it's a great way to let players individualize themselves in-game by not giving them any kind of advantage, because skins are visual, and it's a great way to earn money and to financially keep the development running, and maybe even boosting it. Okay, you might not know this, but you can already do this in 4.2. Skin swapping feature was introduced quite a while back where, if you wanted to, you could change your skin color to anything that you want, as well as your opponent's skin. Which sort of kind of was introduced, I guess, because, well, first of all, it's just cool. Like you say, it's a cool thing to do. And, of course, it's a no-brainer. Like, what difference does it make if you see all your guys in pink and the other guys in purple? Doesn't matter, really, does it? But where it helped out is we had a fair number of individuals who were had color blindness issues, as well as contrasting colors being, let's say, masking off visibility as to player identification. So my thinking is, of course, it must have worked, because the moment we introduced it, all these let's say complaints as far as visualization, as well as color blindness, it just kind of disappeared with that version released, and since then we never heard about it again. So yeah, definitely going to be moving that into HD, not so much as a feature or benefit to the player directly. But indirectly, it balances things out as far as contrasting colors goes. So a good example is you don't want to use an all-green skin on a map like Raiders, which is mostly predominantly green foliage. Flip side to that, of course, is that you can make your team all green, which decreases the amount of visibility of your own teammates, and then use an increased contrast color for the bad guys. So, your team's green, the other team may be black, using black textures. So it kind of stands things out a lot more without having to go to gummy bear type of materials and textures. So, that's the best of both worlds. We can do sexy, really nice, cool-looking textures and what have you. And that really works out for everybody. The idea, of course, Urban Terror 4.2 being somewhat of a completed game, to kind of wean off any kind of fear in that area there. 4.2 is going to be continued to be worked on. I won't say indefinitely, but for a long time, as to updates, particularly in the area of bug fixes and code. So you're always going to have a new toy to play with, in anticipation into what we like to think of is hopefully is a port from the 4.2 concept as to gameplay. 4.2 is the roadmap. It's the blueprint of what we want to be able to put in as the initial release as far as HD goes, and just sort of carry on with some let's say meta game features that are rather useful than just throwing something in that is a bit of fluff. Okay, boosting, great way to earn money financially, came in development. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. And 3, by the way, if you think that this maybe don't work in Urban Terror as good as in other games, then let me tell you that I guess you cannot imagine how many passionate Urban Terror players are willing to put much money in it if you take an eye on how well it works in CS. Go, for instance. You can maybe define how nice it is for players to have the option to individualize themselves, their in-game character. Yeah, okay, definitely, no-brainer, and that's a logic that's been around for for a long time, and one of those things that goes together like punch and pie. It would be kind of, reckless to kind of ignore it, which gets, when I start getting into 3 here, that it would become obvious as to where we're at. Moving forward, as far as that is concerned, though, our eye is definitely towards the e-sport marketplace, towards the competitive player. Figure out what they need, or want, not necessarily what they need. So, the thinking on the competitive side of things, meaning no offense, is usually when we ask them for their input, what we land up with is a huge spreadsheet with all these different reconfigurations of the weapons that are already in the loadout. Unfortunately, that would be kind of like a baseball player going to the equipment manufacturers and asking them to, well, quirk the bat in their favor. So whatever is set, that's what it's set at. On the other side, on the flip side, what is more benefit to the esports slash competitive side of things is to increase viewership, making taking advantage of kind of the tools and what have you that are already built into an engine like Unreal 4, and then use that as an advantage towards promoting the competitive aspect of the game. So somebody like a 7 and a 9 would have some pretty cool broadcasting tools. You know, they're able to introduce on the fly what is it, stats. You know, they say, okay, well, here's this new player here, and he's well, let's check him out. Boom, click on him, and up pops the stats, and he says, oh yeah, okay, we can see that Johnny here is a highly defensive player, and he has X number of healings over the past year and what have you. So you get a better sense of the value of the player themselves. And our thinking is heck, let's stop playing around with gun values. Instead, let's focus a little bit more on making the player of our game the rock star, kind of thing. As I mentioned, the game's been out for 15 years. All that development and all that stuff that we could actually put into making the actual game has already been done. So now it's time to look forward to the future, and I'm pretty sure that most of you already know, if you're a gamer, or some of the things that are out there that are really beneficial to a game like Urban Terror. Brings us to 3. Same thing as question 1, so that's why I kind of moved it down forward. Is I would highly recommend to sell the game on Steam when it's finished, and generally make more promotion for it, because the last years it was hard to find where there is no friend which is telling you of it. Now, okay, yeah, once again, guys, Novella's German. So, actually not bad English, to tell you the truth. So, we'll just just keep moving forward with this. Okay, yeah, selling the game on Steam. Okay, the thing about, once again, Urban Terror has been around for 15 years, so it has a very solid root in being what would you consider a social network friendly game. Meaning that we're not the only ones that are involved in just making the game, and who are involved in this game are things like server operators and people who put on podcasts and announce events, and secondary organizers like there's a lot of niche communities out there, and their total involvement as far as the game goes has been in transit. Oh, forget it. I'm not going to try it. In transit, as to the ongoing success over the past 15 years. If not for these fellows putting their time, effort into it for free, and 99.99999% of the time, and there probably would not be an Urban Terror 4.2 today. So even though we get all the cheers and jeers, the total number of support that's behind this game is a lot more massive than most people would think. And of course, being behind the big blue curtain, I have had the opportunity as to being able to see this all occurring in real time, when somebody starts counting beans and what have you, to figure out what the hell's going on. So, yeah, certainly solid in that area, and it would be more beneficial to us to give the game away for free, because basically you could put anything on Steam, and monetize it in a multitude of different other ways, including not limited to, say, a 2x4. So even some real bad games have had probably a lot more, let's say sales, box office. That's the word I'm looking for. They had a lot more box office than they normally could or should. Really bad games out there, just as much as there's some really stellar things. But this kind of works in our advantage, because, well, obviously we have a lot of lead time of deciding how we want to approach it. But what's working best for us at the moment is just to ignore the fact that there is a monetization to be had here, and instead focus on making the best game that we possibly can, using our number one resource, which is time, which then we can then defer everything later down the road. So there's a lot of different things that can be done as far as financially benefiting from the game. But how far it would go, really depends. Obviously, is the impact on initial release date. And I suspect with all you guys out there that it's going to hit hard. Now, the reason it's going to hit hard is because, once again, past experiences have showed us that of what is suspect is not necessarily true. So when we had like the release for 4.2, I believe the trend was at that time, upon initial release, it was about 3,000 downloads an hour. So that's for an indie group, that's pretty. Through our own bandwidth and resources, 3,000 downloads an hour is pretty darn impressive, and would be rather impressive even for, let's say, an up-and-coming starting indie group on releasing their product on Steam. The question is can you maintain that trend as far as the total number of downloads? So if somebody's paying out 50. Well, I don't think we're going to be able to get $50 for the game, to be honest. Probably more in line with as a $20 game. But with Unreal 4, who knows? I mean, you can make. But you know what they say about pigs, about creating a silk purse out of pigs, and whatever. Anyways, so those numbers are pretty impressive. Okay, so that shelf life wise, if we just give the game away for free and then we just make the money on the the monetization on the back end, and its shelf life is indefinite, as opposed to having like a $20 game where people start to say, well, it's sort of starting to putter out. If it's free, it's going to be downloaded for the next 15 years. No, there's no doubt about that. We put a price tag onto it, then its shelf life is determined by the price tags, and then eventually somebody's going to go, well, I don't want to spend $20 on this. So that's the way it's going, particularly as to a game that, as I mentioned, sort of is the social network equivalent of say a Facebook, but in the video game world. So if we had the same kind of player base as Facebook has, of generating 500 million clients or members, then trust me, you can make money on anything if you have those kind of numbers. Is there anything else that I want to say about that? Oh boy, okay, promotion, because okay, that kind of hints at the fear that things are kind of dying off, kind of thing. Okay, numbers wise, we have excess of 100,000 registered players on the site. I don't know the exact number, but it's rather significantly higher. The only number I remember is we were going 100,000 registered, validated players. Woohoo! So we're not a slug when it comes to having that kind of interest. The back end of that is that about 95% of that number is people just going off and doing their own thing and playing their own on their own servers that don't show up on the master server list, and they have their own little sub communities that they have their Friday night Friday fest with after work with a beer and pizza and what have you. A lot of that kind of stuff goes on, so it's not really reflected on what you see as far as number of players playing. As to the ratio of servers that are made available. So there's each, well, we don't have the 700,000 numbers that Counter-Strike would have, but or even anywhere close to say, well, let's not go down that way. But the numbers there that are there is about we see. Coming through as traffic is about let's say a 5% of the total core player group. So yeah, no, I don't see. I'm not fearful of anything that's going to happen as far as Urban Terror HD going onto Steam. We're just going to start harvesting a whole bunch more of players, so to speak. Promotion, the idea of promotion, yeah, that's been brought up a fair amount of times. We've tried a few things on our own. With little or no success. Something actually, there's been some a video here and a video there, just kind of throwing stuff out to as nonsensical. But they generally, anything that we do generally only retains the interest of the core group. So it's almost predictable that if we put this video up, it's going to generate 5,000 views, or over the course of 5 years, maybe 80,000 views. So it really doesn't have, let's say, the thrust to to weight ratio to get into the atmosphere as far as viral advertising goes. Now, the idea of promotion itself is a commodity. We do not expect somebody to join the team and start taking on promotional duties, because it's generally something that you would have to pay for. It's like bandwidth. Your service provider is not going to provide you with free bandwidth just because they like what you're doing. So a lot of stuff that we had as far as promotional offers goes is usually involves a back end to it of either paying for the promoter to promote the game, or to supply things like prize money and what have you as to a given event. That the only person that actually benefits directly from that, of course, is the promoter. So they make all the money, and all we get is, a T-shirt out of the deal, kind of thing. So it's either you do everything that you can by word of mouth and getting it promoted and what have you, or going all in and spending a good portion of your development budget on some real honest to goodness advertising. On the other hand, if one of you can be a pester and go over and tell Total Biscuit, hey, check this out. It's 15 years, man, 15 years. A trailer when the game is released by Frozen Sin. He's recommended a few people. Yeah, of course, definitely. There's going to be that is something that I'm looking forward to. I do all the animation, what have you, and actually doing player animations and stuff like that is kind of boring. Really, it's it's actually not really that difficult to do once you have everything set up, and it's just a matter of rotating a joint here by 5 degrees and what to kind of nail it. But certainly going to be doing something. If we're going to do a promo, let's do it right. Once again, slowdown mode. Unreal 4 coming out, 4.8. Need to see what kind of features enhancements is included. Matinee, that's in Unreal 4 now, is old school UDK, and it does work, and it does produce some rather satisfactory output. But the big one, I believe that they're talking about, is a thing called Sequencer, which will allow you to more or less use your Unreal 4 editor as a real-time three-dimensional video editor, so that you can create these kind of cutscenes and what have you in real time and rendered out in real time. So I'm certainly looking forward to being able to play with that, as we already have a lot of the animations that we can add and have a lot of fun with. Okay, the reason why I'm writing you is that I'm really worried about the future of Urban Terror, which is currently in a slump of inactivity. Hence, it's almost impossible to keep playing seriously for league players like me. Also, there are still some annoying bugs which existing since the last 4 years or longer, like that you often drop the second nade after you cancel and throw, or that Groin Zone is way too overpowerful. Dude, run on sentence. Okay. Well, we have to wait for the neighbor to type it clear out. I am obviously not going to start over again. This is just the thing of the video vlog kind of problem that has involved. Funniest thing about the neighbor is one day they decided one of them had a boo-boo on their toe and they had to go to the hospital, and then there's a big argument ensued about who's going to drive who. So anyways, back to it. The reason why I'm writing you is that we already said that, run on sentence, blah blah blah. Okay, kind of lost my train of thought here, so kind of excuse me for a minute. Annoying bugs. Okay, you certainly can go over to urbanterror.info. 4.2, soon to be 4.3, is in a transition mode as far as ongoing content and asset inclusion, and it's going to be focusing later more and more on bug fixes and what have you. So if you do feel as you've written to me, by all means go over to Iron Terror Info and kind of state the case. Now, I would suggest if you're going to post a general posting, most of the postings that don't get enough attention as to being a valid problem is 9 times out of 10 somebody will come in and they'll go, yeah, this is a problem, blah blah blah. You know, you guys gotta do. What usually has a lot of success as far as gaining interest as well as validation by other players is being nice. You know, go in there and say, hey guys, you know, I don't know if this is a problem or anything like that, but you know, I think the growing hit zone is way too overpowerful when you throw an aid. What do you guys think? So it's usually through those types of conversation and dialogues, which we usually try avoiding getting involved with, because once we go in there and we state, oh yeah, we know about it. It's a known problem. We might look at it, you know, if I'm not doing something a little bit more important, blah blah blah. So if you garner enough voices that are saying, hey, yeah, you know, dude, you're right. The second aid growing hit zone is way too overpowerful. In reality, though, that was well, I'm going to have to take the hit on the growing butt thing because, well, when we converted from the Trimash over to MD3, because of the segmentation of the torso being separated from the legs, which is snapped together like Lego box, we had a zone area that was normally a part of the torso zone being excluded from that particular design. So people were complaining that they were getting way too many leg hits and not enough torso hits, which they were, let's say, used to. I'll tell you, these guys, some of these players out there are surgeons. They know, oh wait, hold on, you know, if I shoot the guy here, I'm getting legs, I'm not getting my torso points. So the torso was actually the hit zones called groin and butt were extended into the legs, and they could have been called just as simply as like anything else. They could have been called torso, and then of course scored as such. So you're not hitting groin, dude. You're hitting torso. As to what the value is, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mentioned, of course, if this is a concern of yours, by all means, go over to ironterror.info and as I mentioned, say, hey, you know, what's this all about? And I bet you get a lot more people who want to get involved in the conversation rather than you know, supporting somebody who's there just to make just to stand on a soapbox and yammer on about how they think their life has become miserable because they're getting growing hit zones instead of torsos or whatever. We listen to those things. So by all, you know, those are the kind of information that we look for when we're trolling the boards and are able to consolidate the information over a longer period of time. The idea, of course, is you present, oh yeah, we're going to put a new weapon into the loadout, and of course, 9 times out of 10, the first person that pops up are the guys that just don't want a new weapon added into the bunch. Which, of course, if you do the math over time, it turns out that they're representative of about 0.1% of the total player base. So my impression is you can feel free to argue your point in the comment section. You know, I don't turn that kind of stuff off. That you know, players in Urban Terror want more weapons. So these are the kind of things that we're looking for as far as input. And you know, I do appreciate that you know, you took the time and effort to write out your concerns here, which gives me the opportunity to have somewhat of a little bit more put on a show rather than sticking to showing cool stuff off all the time. I hope I could give you some interesting minds. I guess what should have been insight, and you / Rosenstand may be considered the 1 or 2 points wrote in here. Yeah, okay, for sure, fact. You know, this is you're not the first one. I'm sorry, you know, you're not first. You're not my first. So really, we do a considerable amount of time, a consistent number of times, we do get these types of well thought out fan mail, and a lot of times, surprisingly or not, some of those things that they're pointing out actually translates into actual code fixes that are included in a future release. of course, when we fix those things, and that they think that there's, like for example, color contrast that creates an imbalance in visibility of the player model, as well as color blindness when we introduce those kind of key features, and then of course everything goes back on the cycles again, and everybody's happy until they can find the latest and greatest kind of breakdown and flaw in the system. Okay, so I think that kind of finishes that up. As far as how things are going, definitely, if this was a startup and we were a startup indie group and we had this kind of support from the community at large, then that would be a beautiful thing. I'd like to touch on one last little topic here. It's been kind of thrown our way with some consistency, is the idea of crowdsourcing. So I'm assuming that's things like Kickstarter, some of the sites that are popping up and what have you, and this and that and the other thing. So I'd like you guys to know that Frozen Sand /UrbanTerror.info has had crowdsourcing for, well, almost forever, as far as I know, for years, and it's called Google Ads, which means that we would appreciate it that if you do visit our site to leave your blocker turned off, because that's how we make our nut as far as development dollars goes. So for each person that comes on there, it might be a penny, nickel, dime, or whatever it is. I don't know what the transaction numbers are, but that goes directly into the development fund, which pays for the very, very expensive dollars that we spend just having a web presence in the form of our website, as well as buying incidentals as far as things we don't expect members of our development team that they would have to go out and buy. So if there's, say, for example, a piece of software or hardware, and they're an integral part of the team, they're doing some mad work, and then and unfortunately the whatever they have, their kit, so to speak, can't keep up with their ability to kind of spit out the necessary assets. Then, of course, we'll fund an upgrade for them, or purchase the correct type of software. And then also those dollars are putting into prefabricated assets and what have you. So we don't have to, the kind of, none of the hero stuff, but things that would be kind of like for a top-end coder like Barbie would, we don't want him wasting his time on something that you can buy for like $20 and turn it on and he can integrate it. But yet again, it's one of those things that, okay, well, I got to do this. It's going to take me a week to do. That's which you would then normally try, if we were a real studio, we just kind of off it to the new guy kind of thing. So that's kind of pointing that out, that so all these kind of worries financially, hey, everything's cool. That's taken care of. Anytime we have a release party or a major release, we pay for the downloads and the bandwidth, and that is all comes, of course, through our crowdsourcing called Google Ads. Trust me, there's enough traffic to at least be able to keep the lights on. Some just hope nobody flushes the toilet kind of thing. So yeah, I think that should be a long enough type of a spiel. Story about the neighbors coming home in an appropriate time. I don't have the best of obviously studios here, but nothing wrong with a little ambient every once in a while. And I'll call this one done, and hopefully in the next episode 4.8 will be out, and I'll be able to do another run through on Mykonos as to what's happening as far as some things that can kind of mess things up, kind of idea. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it all. By all means, comment in the section, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'd like to put out one last thing. Obviously, I'm new to this all, and I just more or less went out and bought a microphone and plugged it in. But without having to buy a mixer and what have you, if somebody could post into the comment section there some piece of digital software that will allow me to kind of equalize the recording a little bit. I find that by the time it actually gets uploaded and chewed on by YouTube, that the overall quality that I hear in the original is no longer in there, and it's all kind of it's it's that thing that MP3 does, kind of thing. Okay, anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Hopefully, I won't do another episode for about another week or so. So, see ya.